Hi, my name is Laura. I am the founder and creator of Florida Creations, and I am going to provide you with a step-by-step tutorial on how to use these frames and exactly what it is that is included. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message and I will answer you as quickly as possible. Always within 24 hours, usually within a few minutes. So let's go ahead and get started with this tutorial, shall we? When you make your purchase on Etsy, you will be receiving a PDF file. In this PDF file is a link to your Canva frames, as well as pertinent information that you might find handy. Also note that these frames are for Canva only. I cannot promise that they work with any other software, and I cannot support any other software as I have not tested them in those. So let's get on with the frames and see exactly what it is that you got. I do ask that you don't share the link and do not claim or resell my files. I would greatly appreciate that. To get to your file, all you have to do is hit that download frames. But make sure you do have a Canva account before you do that. You can have a free one or a paid. It works for either. Once you have your Canva account created and logged in, go ahead and hit that button that says download frames. When you click on that download button, just hit the purple button right there. It says use template for new design. Now that we have it opened up in Canva, the first page you will see is a thank you page. It is simply a placeholder for those who are downloading the file that says thank you. No real reason to even keep it. So you're more than welcome to right click and delete that page if you so choose. The next page is going to be a link that takes you back to this video. You're more than welcome to delete this page or even save it if you like, in case in the event you haven't used the frames in a while or you have a question and see if I covered it in the tutorial. You can revisit this tutorial by clicking on that YouTube button, play button right there. If you don't want to delete it, you're more than welcome to click on that page and slide it to the end so you don't have to keep looking at it every time you open this file. My suggestion to you is make sure that you do file and save this file and then turn around and save and make a copy of this file. The reason you want to do that is that way if for any reason you make any changes on this file that you didn't want to keep, you didn't make a mistake, and you don't have to go back to Etsy to re-download the PDF version to re-download this frame set again. I'm going to close that one out, and this is my copy. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. I don't want it in my copy. So that leaves us with the 5 different pages of the 5 different frames that you see here. We're going to go one by one and going to do the first one first. First frame is pretty self-explanatory, and I tried to make sure that each page actually has an explanation of which frames they are. So you're not having to guess what it is that you're trying to get to. First one is inside and outside frame are the same. Pretty self-explanatory, and just like any other frame, if you've already used one before, you just take an element or an image, whatever you so choose, and pick it up and drop it into a letter, and it fills that letter for you. Pretty easy. The next one is the inside and outside frame are separate. Again, I explained to you here what the difference is. It's pretty self-explanatory in the same way. This one, however, is just a tad bit different. For those of you who haven't used frames very often or have never used a frame before, sometimes it can be frustrating if you don't understand how frames work. So let's give you a test real quick to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. When you click on a letter, you will see it pop up a little box up here, and it will say ungroup. It is very important that when you're trying to drop images into a frame, you do have it ungrouped, because when you go to drop an element, it's only going to drop it into one of those frames. And it chose the outside border there. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better and it's easier for me to drop things. So it dropped it in the outside border. Now when I go to get another element and I want to drop it in there, it's not wanting to drop that element in there. Now when I put my mouse over the element of the outside border, it lets me put it in that one, but when I put it on this one, it doesn't. The reason being is because these are two separate frames. They're grouped together, and the outside border frame is actually sitting on top of the bigger frame. So what you'll want to do is highlight or select that frame, go up here to positions, go right here to layers, and you will see right there, the little box right here next to it, it says that it's grouped. All you want to do is hit ungroup. You can either do ungroup up here or here. And then you see those two separated now. You have the outside and the inside are now in separate areas. Now, this frame, outside frame, is still on top of this bigger one. So it's still not going to work. So what you will have to do is click on that bigger frame, make sure it's selected, and drag it above the outside border of that frame. And now you will be able to take that image and drop it in there. That's where a lot of people get frustrated when they're using multiple frames. They don't think about that layering, and because of that layering, it will do that. One good way to avoid it too is if you want to, you can go back and leave the bigger frame on top of the outside frame. Go ahead and group it. And now when you do that, if you notice, I don't want to hit that one. If you notice, it is now grouped together. However, let me do an ungroup real quick. Let me do an ungroup real quick so you can see. You see how there's a purple box that's around just the blue? And it exposes the red here and the red here. If you don't want to keep ungrouping every time you want to use these frames, then go ahead and leave the bigger frame on top of the outside frame and then regroup those together. Click them both together, either in the side panel, or you can drag over across the both of them. Both of them are selected, and hit group. Now, keeping in mind that invisible frame is still there for that blue, that means the red down here and the red up here is exposed. So you could technically leave it grouped, pick up this and bring it up here to the top, and it will do it for you. It won't change it in the middle because remember, the outside frame is overlapping the blue frame. I'm sorry, the blue frame is overlapping the outside frame, so it won't do it there. But because of that box we saw earlier, if you do it down here or you do it up here, it will work. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I didn't think about that when I created these frames. Maybe I will in the future. But when you use them and you change them out, that's an easy way to think of those. That's how you use the two frame method on this one. So let's go back so you can see the rest of it. And let's check out the next one. The next frame set is pretty much like the second frame set, except the only difference is this outside border is not a frame. It is actually an SVG file that allows you to use a color wheel or a hex code to change that color. So let's say I want an image. Let's do this pink. Let's put this pink in this frame. Well, it's not going to let me put it in that frame because guess what? That outside frame is actually over top of the inside frame. So I'm going to do is zoom into this A so I can see it better. I'm again going to ungroup. Either right click on it and hit ungroup, or you can go to positions and look at the layers and ungroup. There's many different ways of ungroup. Just ungroup it. Now you will see that this got the invisible border as well. But when you go to the positions, layers, you will see that that A, oh, where'd it go? Right here it is. It's in big old list. That outside border is actually on top of the inside border. So we're going to change that up. Oops, helps if I select it right. We're going to put that above that one. We're going to go ahead and take this pink file. We're going to stick it in there. And let's say I like this, but I want this outside border to be pink. I don't want it to be black. So I will go up here to my color wheel and I will see this is the border right here. I'm sorry, this is the image that's inside my border, inside my frame. It selects all the different colors of pink that's inside your picture. So let's say I want the lighter one. Bam. Easy. So much simpler than trying to figure it out with a color wheel on your own and having to do adjusting. So that's the easiest way to do that. Now, let's say you don't want to use a color that's in there, but instead there's a different color that's off the walls that you really just want to get. Go up here where the plus wheel is. And right here, if you get the hex code of the color that you want, you would just type in that hex code. And let's say I want to turn it black. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I think there's 6 zeros. There's your black. So you can change, if you have the hex code of a color, you can change it whatever color you want to just by a simple click. And that is the reason why I selected to make an SVG. This is one of the reasons why I recreated these frames. I got tired of trying to adjust to figure out and get as close as possible when with an SVG, you can get exact. You don't have to worry about, oh, is that the right shade or is that going to match up? That's taking care of that. So that is your third frame. Fourth frame, inside and outside frame are separate, just like the first or the second one. And the background in SVG. The reason why I did this is because there's a lot of times I would like to overlap my letters over top of an image or overlap the letters on top of each other. But I don't want that image or that letter that I overlapped to show through between these two areas. And that was missing. I couldn't find it at least. So I decided to create it as well. So again, if for any reason, let's just do this real. Actually, let's do it this way. Z, let's put an image here. We're going to go find a pretty little image. Let's go to, we're just going to use this one. Let's say we're going to put this image right here. And, you know, whatever reason. So we're going to put him behind the letter so that way he's, okay. So you can see that this is a complete solid color here. No matter what is behind it, whatever color you make that SVG file is what color it's going to be. So let's say again, I'm going to put that pink back in this frame. We're going to put it on outside again because of the layers. We're going to have to ungroup and we're going to have to make sure that this bigger frame is on top. We're going to, let me switch gears real quick. The bigger frame's on top. That's where we're going to put an image file. The outside frame is second. That's what's currently pink. And this SVG is what's behind it. And that's what's making that whole section back here. I'll show you in a second why I made that solid instead of just the line. So it's a solid A if you see that. So let's go back to my elements real quick. Let's say I'm going to change this into a blue and I want my SVG file. Let's go back to my SVG file right here. Let's turn that to a white. No matter what I do, nothing will show up behind that, especially if I'm overlapping letters or going over images. Of course, it's easy to remove it if you want to by using the other frames, but that's the reason why I have that there. Now, the reason why I made that SVG a big solid as I did is because, I'm going to delete this so we don't confuse ourselves. That's such a terrible color combo, but hey, it works, right? So what I had done is if for any reason you're doing letters, that pink is really driving me crazy with that blue. I've got to change this up. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Elements. Let's just do this real quick. Okay. That doesn't look so bad. And let's change that SVG to a different color so that way I know that it's actually there. So let's go to the color wheel and let's pick a cool, no, I don't want gray. Let's do color. I want it to be something cool. Let's do, we'll do a light blue. That looks like a teal. Hopefully that shows up for you instead of white. I don't know if it does. So anyway, now that we have those colors, now the reason why I said that I did the SVG file as a big bold letter instead of just the line is because this is a second bonus that you get with this file. If you duplicate that A, shows up on top here, bring it down, then change it to black, change it any color you want to. It now looks like a drop shadow. So now you have the ability to do a drop shadow any way you want to, and of course, play around with it and do whatever you want. Transparent, bring it down some, and then that way you have the ability to do a really easy drop shadow that maybe Canva lacks in. Yes, Canva has drop shadows, but sometimes you wanted to do it certain things, and that's just an easy plus. Just something I threw in because I could. So that is the inside and outside frame separate and has a background as an SVG. Then the last one, because we have that background as an SVG, we had to make sure we made it into a frame. So again, just like all the other frames and just like the previous one, you would need to click on the letter, ungroup it, and when you ungrouped it, you'll see the frame. The top is thinner, the back is bigger. So just keep that in mind. And then when you group them back together, you have your frames. So that is a breakdown of these frames. If you have any questions or if you have any issues using them, please let me know and I will be glad to assist you. Hey guys, one thing I did fail to mention, and I just thought of this, so I want to throw it real quick at the end of this video. Another little perk that you can do with these frames is once you separate them, you see that it's separated right here. You have the outside border, the inside border, and of course the background. Go to your inside border, or even in your background border, it's totally up to you. But the inside border, you can actually go over here to where it says border style, and you can actually put another border on there. Just a little idea for crafting and creativity to give you guys some ideas. And of course, it doesn't have to stay black. Because you got the pink glitter on the outside, you can easily go over here to your color wheel, grab your dropper, and grab the pink from there. And it matches it. There's so many things you can do with these frames. So again, if you have any questions or any issues with these files or suggestions to make them even better, let me know. I'll be glad to help out. You guys have a wonderful day.